Hi everyone. I want to talk a bit about what occurred last week and what it means for the Jewish community. And for those who don't know, last week we discovered that there were two license plates issued by the DMV that had printed anti-Semitic remarks. I will not repeat what they said because repeating this language just emboldens those who write it. The DMV has since retracted these license plates, and I've been assured the Department of Administration is investigating how it happened and is putting protocols in place so it doesn't happen again. And I'm very thankful for their quick and decisive action. Unfortunately, there are some people who felt that the license plates should not be retracted because they are protected by the First Amendment. And for those who are a bit fuzzy on the details of the First Amendment, allow me to quote it for you as it was revised in 1992. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition government for a redress of grievances. There's a lot there. But as you can imagine, I love the First Amendment. It protects our legal rights to gather as a religion, something that I do often. And even the more so, our whole community enjoys the benefits of the First Amendment every Shabbat. Now, the back of a vehicle is a colorful forum for celebrating our First Amendment rights, often in the form of bumper stickers. However, a license plate is not an appropriate venue for a First Amendment argument. That said, the hate speech that we encounter in social media, online publications, on bumper stickers, and taped to our synagogue doors is mostly protected by the First Amendment. So even if it makes us feel insecure, if it tries to silence us, and or it gives us psychological trauma, it is still protected speech. If we ask our government to punish anyone who professes hate toward a distinct group of people, we collide into another important value, and that is the value of limiting censorship. A democracy cannot occur if we censor everything we do not like. In other words, the First Amendment gives us a marketplace to freely exchange ideas, and for this marketplace to remain free, we have to protect that freedom, even if we don't like some of the ideas being exchanged. A famous example of this occurs in 1978, where the ACLU successfully defended neo-Nazis' right to demonstrate in Skokie, Illinois, successfully claiming it was within their First Amendment right to demonstrate. At that time, the executive director of the ACLU was a man named Aryeh Neher, who was Jewish and fled Germany during the Holocaust, where much of his family was slaughtered. And he supported the right of these neo-Nazis to protest and is quoted as saying, "Freedom has its risks. Suppression of freedom, I believe, is a sure prescription for disaster." The Anti-Defamation League believes in the same thing and takes it further. And they say, the best answer to hate speech is not censorship, but more speech. However, hateful speech could still do damage, even if it is protected. We saw firsthand on January 6th how quickly speech can turn to action. In just over a month, Trump convinced countless individuals to storm our Capitol and to desecrate its halls with violent and indefensible behavior. What the Capitol experienced that day is something that every Jewish person knows deep in their bones. Hurtful speech leads to hateful action. And next week we're going to watch as Trump's defense lawyers make a case that Trump's countless untrue election fraud claims are protected by the First Amendment. So the questions around what kind of speech the First Amendment protects will be part of our national conversation very soon. So with that in mind, now it's time for me to ask for your help. We rabbis joke that it's our job to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. And I believe it's time to come out of our comfort zones and counter hate speech with our own speech. It's time that we call out and remind our country that it was founded on the principles of democracy, that our national conversation needs to occur through civil discourse and respectful debate, not misinformation and extreme actions. This work is often the responsibility of the Jewish community. And there's a particular kind of mitzvah called tochecha, which means rebuke. It's a mitzvah to rebuke others. This mitzvah is first found in the Holiness Code of Leviticus, which says, "You shall not hate your neighbor in your heart. Rebuke your neighbor, but incur no guilt in the process." We do not rebuke from a place of scorn or hate. We rebuke from a place of love. But our tradition is clear that rebuking is something we must do. The Rambam writes about this and says, "Whoever is able to rebuke, yet fails to do so, is ensnared by the same sin, because they were able to prevent it." Tochecha is not a mitzvah that we need to go out of our own to perform. It's a mitzvah that comes to us, because hateful speech often flows in our direction. Sometimes it's enough to tell a person that their hateful speech is hurting their friend or their neighbor. Showing a person that their language disparages a familiar face can have a powerful effect. Sometimes it is enough to show someone how their narrative does not align to reality, and sharing their misinformed narrative may feel good for them, but is deeply hurtful for others. And sometimes it feels like there is nothing we can do or say to make anyone change. However, allowing hateful speech to go unanswered and unchecked is emboldening it. As a people, we love to argue. We are experts at critiquing each other. Lovingly, but persuasively, there's always room to say you are wrong in a Jewish argument. I have personally become an expert at being told I'm wrong, and I love it. Well, I don't mind it. Because a new perspective or corrected information helps me grow and keeps me grounded to reality. Last week, I asked an assembly member to be more considerate of the dangers of hateful speech. I'm always willing to counter misinformed rhetoric and uncivil discourse as guided by our Jewish principles, but I prefer to not do it alone. Our community has power, not as a singular voice, but as many voices offering a singular message, a message that counters hateful speech and misinformation with compassion and honesty, a message that reminds people their hurtful rhetoric is hurting people they most likely know and even respect, and a message that demands consequences from those who use hateful speech. And I know what I'm asking is a lot, but with anti-Semitism on the rise, it's our responsibility to offer our own speech in the national conversation, even if that just means a conversation with your neighbor, or in modern times, our friends on social media. And a great place to start is to illustrate how hateful speech should incur consequences. There are lots of reasons not to censor it. However, there are still lots of consequences that can occur for those who share hateful rhetoric. And these consequences have been coined as counterspeech. Counterspeech is the mitzvah of tochecha. And there are so many places this can occur. Maybe you have a Facebook friend whose posts are verging toward being hateful. Let them know how that makes you feel. Even if they delete it, they read it to do so. Send messages to your elected officials who practice hate speech and let them know how their rhetoric is hurtful for you. If you have success stories or you're having problems, let us know. We are a positive, supportive community here to celebrate our successes and support each other during hardship. Anyways, before I conclude, a big thank you to all the lawyers who helped me understand the First Amendment. I also received inspiration and help from the book called Hate, Why We Should Resist It with Free Speech, Not Censorship, by Nadine Strawson, and help from a podcast called What Trump Can Teach Us About Con Law. So be brave and be compassionate. And conclude with this quote by Nelson Mandela. No one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin, or his background, or his religion. People must learn to hate. And if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love.